My grandfather ran Centrepoint, which was Bert Potter. It was a notorious cult. I think I was about 6 years old. The abuse started happening. Started waking up in really funny places, not really remembering the night before. I remember splashing around and then kind of getting told to lie there, or I wasn't going to get let out. Bonfires of people dancing around. Did have connections through the police force, doctors and judges and lawyers. I didn't actually feel any remorse. I was even capable at the time to feel that. This is like one of the first times I've spoken about it in years. Fish to my own gang. Talking about it, that's where the true healing came. You gotta own your story.
Bro, can you please introduce yourself and where you're from originally?
Ko waio, ko Zahn Simeon te kuingoa, ko me te maunga, ko pupo ke te awa, ko whangaroa to moana, ko tukapa te whauro te waka, ko ngā pui nui tonu te iwi, ko waio, ko zu taku ingoa. I'm a father of four. I have two beautiful mokos, Kamaya and Karodia. Kia ora, brother. I've been in the online space now as Majistical Tani for 2 years, going on 2 years now. The reason why I jumped on the online space, I created the 30-day 100 challenge. Really, brother, was because I got my son back and I was trying to get my son back into my life. She was staying with my mother. He'd been staying there while I've been in jail for the last kind of 7 to 8 years. Me and my son's progress while he came back into the house, which was instrumental for me. And whilst I did that, and it really worked for me, I got other people, hundreds of people on around New Zealand doing it as well, talking about the trauma stories, talking about the whole world of journeys. So it was instrumental for me in my healing journey, and it was one of the main things for me getting my son back in my life at the moment. Now that my program's been going for 6 months, we had initially 6 boys come through the program. 6 boys started off, and really we did it for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They were totally disengaged. Went at school, going through the system. Me and my boy being in the house, I needed something for him to do also. There wasn't really anything that I felt that fitted my son's needs, so I created something which was out the Madangatei program. The first lot of boys who were on the program, they came up with the name. They said a lot of tikanga kawa for the program. It's a 24-hour job once you step into these spaces here. I try to under promise and over deliver, or be consistent in their life. I ask them to be consistent in mine, and it's a crime prevention and intervention program. Originally, I grew up originally from Centrepoint. My whānau's from Kaio. My whānau's from Kaio in the far north. I come from the Heke whānau. When I ended up on the wall, I come from the Heke whānau in Kaio. And then I think the ages of 4, I kind of moved to Centrepoint. Yeah.
So whereabouts was that based?
Centrepoint is based in Albany. I was resident at Centrepoint there from the ages of 5 to the age of 9. Centrepoint. My grandfather ran Centrepoint, which was Bert Potter. It was a notorious cult that had a lot of sexual abuse going on. It was one of the biggest sexual abuse cases with cults cases in the Southern Hemisphere. And my father was the leader and kind of guru at Centrepoint. I went there at the age of 5. I remember this because my mother was in the women's refuge. Checked in there at the age of I think it was just before I turned 5. She didn't have anywhere to go. So naturally, she moved to where her father was, and he just opened up the commune. Was not long had the commune running. Centrepoint was initially was a therapeutic retreat or therapeutic commune that they were kind of a whole lot of people that came out of university, a whole lot of doctors, lawyers, other therapeutic practices. My grandfather put it together. It was kind of a self-sustained commune, really. It was a self-sustained commune that there was piggeries there that families worked at. There were nurseries there that families worked at. There was a hat factory that families worked at, a weight-making factory that families worked at. But it was a self-sustained commune that had about 500 people at, brother. And the thing was at Centrepoint is that if everyone put about 4 or 5 hours in work a week, every family put 4 or 5 hours work a week, it actually ran itself. So the concept of Centrepoint was a beautiful concept. It was just the abuse and the intentions that went on behind the scenes that really ruined a good thing. Yeah, Bert Potter was my grandfather. So as I understand it, some of the stuff that I've learned, some of the stuff I know him, he was my grandfather. My mother was adopted by him. He was the leader of Centrepoint. He was involved with a study that went around the world with doctors and physicians and therapists around the world. That was a book called How to Influence People, How to Make Friends and Influence People. At that time, I think there was a whole lot of people around the world at different universities that were involved in the survey. He was one of the people that were involved in the survey. Whilst he done that, he got a whole lot of different doctors, scholars, and therapeutic practitioners to come from California over to New Zealand. He got a lot of information off them, and then opened up Centrepoint. And Centrepoint was a real therapeutic. So any counselling, any ACT counselling, any psychotherapy drama, any kind of primal therapy counselling spaces, they learned a lot of that practices at Centrepoint. So he was a teacher at first. First of all, he was a teacher. He came from Riverton, so the family comes from Riverton. He was a teacher there. My grandmother was also a teacher. And then he moved to Auckland, yeah, and he went to university and tried to do the therapeutic stuff, hypnotist, other practices like that. Yeah, they bought a property. What they did was he influenced a lot of people, influenced a lot of people into selling their own homes. So they sold their own homes. You've been to the property, eh, brother? And the property is huge. So it's not acres, it's hectares. And it's on a huge property right across the road from Albany Shopping Centre. And it's huge. It's huge. And he got a whole lot of people to sell their houses, and then put it all into a trust fund to really buy Centrepoint, the property of Centrepoint. And if you realise it's the size of us of 2-3 suburbs. Initially, I had my birthday there. I remember having the birthday there, my 5th birthday, and this is why I remember these are my first memories of Centrepoint. I remember being there, and because I come from, I remember I would have been coming from a lot of trauma then, because my father was actively physically abusing my mum, was actually beating my mother up. So I moved there. I remember going to Women's Refuge, kind of getting these tadpoles. And just after my 5th birthday, we let go of the tadpoles, let the tadpoles grow into frogs, and let them go at the pond. So these are my first memories of Centrepoint. My first memories of Centrepoint were actually really good memories, which is quite confronting for me because the space was beautiful. There was beautiful bushes there, bushwalks you could go on. There was big pools there, spa pools there. The place was huge. There was a whole lot of other kids there that you could play with there. So essentially, when I first went to Centrepoint, it seemed like a really cool place. You always got fed. There was always food there. There was never any poverty there, and it was a really cool space to run around with kids and be kids in an outdoor setting. We weren't really parented a lot at the time, so it was kind of like didn't go to school, could run around the property. The property was huge, could never ever find the end of it. And then that's when the abuse started happening after about a year being there. I think I was about 6 years old. The abuse started happening. Started waking up in really funny places, not really remembering the night before. So I'd wake up in the middle of the bush and wake up with these cabins in the middle of nowhere and try and have to find my way back to the main house. That's why I was kind of not aware of what kind of abuse was happening, but I'd just wake up in these really random places, and then kind of have to find my way back to where the main house was. Those are kind of my first memories of kind of the abuse happening. And then there was the top house where they had the hypothetical chambers, and then kind of hopping into those, getting put into hypothetical chambers, which I just remember the first time I talked about it. I remember talking to someone about these doors closing, and they were kind of like the ship doors that you have on boats with the things that you turn. So the doors kind of closed, and then I remember splashing around and then kind of getting told to lie there, or I wasn't going to get let out. So I'd kind of lie there and be still, and then you kind of float on top of the water. So hypothetical chambers where there's seawater. I remember talking about this because I remember the salt. It was really heavy kind of salt water that felt like it was the texture of kind of what slime was, brother. If you know slime and those things there, it was that kind of texture, but it was water, and you could lie on top of it, and you kind of lay on top of the water, and there was total darkness. There was no sound in there apart from when someone would open up the door and just tell me what to do. And then apart from that, I think they call it, yeah, so there's sound deprivation, you're in total darkness, and I hear a lot of Māoris talking about te kore, and it's to actually just sit in your own consciousness, so you can't feel your own body weight. You can't see anything, so you're really just in your own consciousness. Yeah, they keep me there for hours. Also, I was getting ministered LSD at the time, so I don't remember how long I'd be there, but I always remember getting pulled out of the tanks and kind of asking, what did I see when I was in there? What kind of colours did I see? Did my mind take me anywhere? And always, so I get administered LSD and then get put into the chambers and then get pulled out and get asked a whole lot of questions. And at the time, I was always discombobulated. Kind of didn't never really know what was going on. My mind was going through travel. I remember some things now. What they kind of explain as astro traveling. I suppose I did a lot of that in these tanks. A lot of people actually came out of Auckland University, well educated. Hypnotherapy was going on there. There was a lot of practices like that were happening. I saw a lot of bonfires of people dancing around, like other Indigenous cultures too. There was other Indigenous cultures practices going down there. Really, from my understanding, it's to tap into the Wairua realm, the spiritual realm, the consciousness, realm of consciousness. And when I look back at it, I've seen footage in there. You've got to understand that a lot of these people were trying to understand therapy and how therapy worked, understand how these practices work, but they hadn't had any trauma in their own lives really because their backgrounds where they were educated. So they were really, for me, they were kind of creating trauma whilst trying to heal trauma. If that makes sense, brother. Yeah. And I think because it was so new, they definitely would have known what they were doing. But yeah, my grandfather alone, but with his God complex that he really did have, getting put on a pedestal. The woman there, pretty much, really idolizing him and with bad intentions, kind of turned really sour really quick. And I understand that even that book that he was involved with, How to Make Friends and Influence People, he was really just manipulating people into doing whatever he wants. So it became a real power struggle. And I could see that sitting at tables with them. And I had privy to that. A lot of people didn't have privy to seeing him after a lot of the counseling sessions, after a lot of the therapeutic things. I remember walking into the lounge and be like 500 people in there cuddling each other, hands on each other, giving each other feedback, and doing other psychotherapy drama, playing all these different scenes out to each other about if you were in trauma, how are you going to respond and all these types of things. I've talked to my mother about it, and he was very controlling. I've talked to even some of my aunties in that, and he was very controlling. My mother was adopted at the time. My mother was adopted, so she was adopted quite late too. And she was Maori, so it kind of put us in. And he adopted my uncle, who was Chinese as well. Yeah, and then he had his own sibling, he had his own kids as well, which my aunties and uncles. And I know that even with one of my aunties, she was a bit overweight, and he used to hypnotize her to try and lose weight, and was very hard on them. And I know there was abuse going on with them alone. They've talked to me about it. I know when I started talking about my journey, it was very triggering to them. So they reached out to me and actually said, "Hey, look, this is what happened with my experiences. What you're saying, a lot of what you're saying is very true. I've been very brave to share this. This has all come from really memories and stuff like that." But I know that my mum, because she was adopted, was always kind of outcast, really. And they kind of didn't really understand why she didn't fall in line to a lot of their things. I know they used to argue a lot, they used to fight a lot, but at the time, I think with my father, kind of doing domestic abuse and beating her, she felt like she didn't have any other place to go. So naturally, she went back to her father's, where at the start, being in Centrepoint, I don't think she really understood what was going on in the background. A lot of us kids saw it, and it was kind of normalized because we did stay in these big long houses where there'd be like at least 15 families sleeping in one. And when I'm talking about 15 families, I mean their mother, their father, and then 3, 4 kids. So they'd be sleeping in a room with about 40 people, in a room with 40 people, and then all the parents were having sex. There was a lot of sex going on because of the drugs also. There was a lot of LSD going around at the time. So they would be privy to sex. You'd see other kids getting involved and other kids getting touched and stuff like that. So it was kind of normalized. It was a normalized thing. I'd constantly try and stay away from adults. I would constantly try and evade adults. As soon as I see groups of them, I'd stay away from them. I'll start sleeping where they used to keep all the towels and start finding other places to hide out and pretty much try and be away from kids. I'd be up in the bush a long time. So I knew being around the adults wasn't a safe space. So it was quite a lonely time, really. would take off all the time, and kind of we were like the naughty kids because we were never ever around the group. The groups always, so there'd always be therapeutic groups going on in the lounge area. There's a massive common area there. There's always therapeutic groups around there, so you'd always need to stay away from those. The long houses, you could always hear people having sex up in there. There was always, like at night times, bonfires going. If you understand how the Hunger Games go, the bam, 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 the music coming from somewhere, you kind of hear, you'd be around the area, and the next minute you'd hear like real loud music coming from somewhere, like kind of techno, kind of electronic music coming from up in one of the fields, and you think, oh yeah, they're partying up right there, so kind of stay away from there, because everyone would be partying up there. And this music would go on for maybe a day and a half, just loud music going through the whole property, and the next minute just turn off, so you kind of knew all of a sudden that, oh yeah, the party's over. Just like any party, if you know when you've been domestic abuse, so that's when kind of everything starts going sour. I understand that he did have connections through the police force. Even the people that were at Centrepoint, where doctors and judges and lawyers that lived at Centrepoint, that actually sold their homes to try and live this new age hippie life. It would have been appealing to a lot of people. Even if you walk people onto property and said, hey, look, you could be a part of this, a lot of people that had money and privy to money would have actually given up their lifestyles to live carefree. I remember when it got raided. I was there when it got raided. I remember waking up one morning and it was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of police. There was helicopters flying over. And then that was the beginning of the end, really. After that, they arrested Bert, finally got him in, arrested, took him away off the property. And before that, there were these really strange deaths going on. I know there was some strange deaths going on that kind of people were always talking about. There was car crashes, a few car crashes that people were understanding that maybe they'd been suicides because there was no kind of place for these cars were crashing into power poles, and people kind of I know there's people hanging themselves at the property. But yeah, there was kind of some strange things at the end of it were kind of going on to kind of wrap the place up. I think the death that happened there would have caused a lot of questions going on. I remember they just shut the place down pretty much, and then because I was privy to information, I kind of did know the people that went to court. I think they took the hierarchy of basically who were the top people on the board of trustees. They took them, and basically everyone else got a slide. Everyone else got a slide, brother. And I was there to be a witness to a lot of the abuse that happened in a lot of the long houses that I was in, and a lot of people got a slide, brother. I think my grandfather did the longest, but because the information wasn't there, no one was forthcoming with any information about the abuse. It was all hearsay. A lot of them got off scot-free. There was a few allegations going on, but they were from kids, and then at their time, a lot of people were backing him also and backing him up. So a lot of people defended the badge, if you'd say. And there was a lot of police, a lot of judges that were in the commune at the time that could have shut a lot of things down. And I understand this myself because a lot of them are my own family members. I looked right down the barrel saying that too. And to be a part of that, it was really a bit disgusting for me. There's some family members that I won't forgive that still try and reach out to me that I can't be done with it because I understand that the trauma that went on with me there, and I look back at my childhood, it totally changed the trajectory of my childhood, really, brother. Something that could have been so cool, or something that could have been so good, such a cool utopia was kind of created. The intentions behind that really set me down a path of destruction. Yeah, it was arrested for child abuse and stuff, and I hate to say it, but kind of when you're my size and you're the exotic-looking kid, brother, you get picked out from the crowd quite a lot. And just being Māori alone, I'd say that. That was only one me and my mother were the Māori faces there that I remember in a long time. And I know I used to get picked out quite a lot because I was quite a big kid, and I suppose being Māori in these places here, you kind of get just regarded as almost subhuman, brother. To the other kids there, I know they kind of leave me as kind of like their kid that was different, the black sheep in the family. The black sheep was inside the crowd, so it'd stand out more than other kids and get picked out quite a lot. So Bert went out of jail. So he went out of jail. So I remember being in Mount Eden. He was there the same time as my father was at Mount Eden. Yeah, brother. So I'd go visit my dad. I'd visit him in the visiting rooms, and we'd get the 2-for-1 special because it was on the other side of town. I'd get to visit my grandfather behind the screen as well. I didn't really understand what was going on with him. Yeah, I used to visit him in jail as well because my mother still they defended the badge, acted like, there was still allegations and how could he do that when he'd done also a lot of other amazing things, brother. Yeah, and yeah, Mountain Prison was a pretty cold place then. So I remember going through the gates there, visiting my grandfather and my father. Um, yeah, and I know that even when he did get out, didn't no remorse, brother. Thought it was still okay. Thought because other places in the world have brides at the age of 13 when they come of age that it was okay to do it here in New Zealand and we should be looking at other cultures and always had an excuse, always had some type of excuse, brother. Which to me, I can't help where I was born into, but I was pretty much dropped into a space where, my proximity to trauma was great at that time, brother. And even being with someone who really manipulated and influenced a lot of people, I'm really, really conscious around intentions behind what you're doing now. I check the intentions behind what a lot of people are doing. He was a car salesman. He was a car salesman. He was a teacher. He was put in positions where you understand that now I question a lot of people's intentions at the moment, and it's a true reality. There was businesses going on. I remember my mum working at a place called Pizza Plus, so it was one of the first pizza delivery places in Auckland at the time. I actually remember going there with work with her at the end of it when they were kind of getting out of the Centrepoint and kind of shut down, and she needed a job. And we had the first house, and they still had businesses going on outside of Centrepoint while they were still inside of jail. There's a whole lot of different businesses they were going to. There was still the drug trade. Centrepoint was one of the biggest LSD manufacturers in New Zealand at that time, brother. Yeah, they were selling drugs out there to make the place. You've seen the space, brother. That space here would cost a lot to keep running. It costs a lot to keep running. You're going to feed 500 people every single day. The nurseries were big, but they weren't big enough to really keep that maintained while they were trying to make money outside the commune. Also, in saying this, a lot of my own family came out of Centrepoint, haven't really worked a day in their lives, brother. Well, I understand that the people that left kind of went off. They got their share given back to them. There's a lot of houses that got bought afterwards. I know a lot of my cousins that got payouts. They went into different avenues, and a lot of people that were in the hierarchy really benefited for that and pretty much took what they could and cut and ran. If you'd understand, they cut and ran and kind of got what they could out of the place and pretty much set up shop and act like it never happened. So there was a lot of that stuff going on, just quieting people and make sure people weren't talking. Because if you understand and see the property, brother, there's a lot of money going in that space. Because I think 7 people out of the whole place got done for sexual abuse charges. Yeah, they got name suppression, they got all that, and I'd understand that some of these people we still working inside these therapeutic positions now. I know a lot of them are. When you actually do a background check on these, a lot of people that were there, a lot of the hierarchy is still working as therapeutic people, and in the universities they still got people working in. So one of my family members used to work for the ACC board, and they were one of the people that changed the historic cases of getting ACC. Made it really hard for people to get any historic cases. You pretty much couldn't just say, look, I've been sexually abused without going through the process that you have to go through now. It's a very hard process to go through now to get any retribution or kind of to get any kind of retribution at the moment. Yeah, and her partner did go to jail for sexual abuse too. And then she got on the board working as one of the people that ACC worked with. She was one of the advisors to them. Yeah, she's a doctor. Yeah, she's a doctor. Works at Massey, brother. You know the one. Oh, at times it's frustrating for me. It's hard for me, but it is a part of my journey. It's a part of my story. And as much as it was a terrible space to be in, a terrible, start for my life, I've just got to look at it now, brother, with the lessons that I got from there, a whole lot of things of what not to do, intentions behind people's actions, what the difference between manipulating people and inspiring people are, brother. They're very close things. Once I started actually opening up and sharing my story, talking about it, that's where the true healing came, because I actually, you got to own your story, and then give your story a voice, because coming out of abuse, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, you get your voice taken from you. You get told to be quiet. You get told not to tell anyone. You get told that you get ostracized about, what sexual abuse is about. It's quite shameful at times. It can be if you don't realize that you're really a survivor. Anything there was outside of my means. But yeah, brother. So I left out there. So my mother basically got shut down. Moved to Beach Haven. Moved to Birkdale Beach Haven area, moved around there quite a lot. And then, the trauma had already happened. I already had an addiction to marijuana, an addiction to LSD at the time. And I know the trauma had already happened. My mother couldn't understand, because I didn't want to tell my mother about getting sexually abused. She used to ask me all the time. I didn't want to. I didn't actually tell her, because I didn't want her to feel guilty at the time. This was the whole thing. I didn't want to feel guilty at the time, because there was a time there when she went to Australia. I remember she went to the Sydney Expo, which was on around 91, I think. The Sydney Expo was on at the time. She went over there with a friend, and left me at Centrepoint with my grandfather. And I know once she did that, she went over there for a few weeks. That's when a lot of abuse just ramped up, because I had no parents around me. I was sleeping in long houses by myself, unprotected, so I didn't really want her to understand that, that had happened. A lot of it were her friends, the people that she was really engaged with at the commune. And she was, single mother coming out of domestic violence herself. I suppose that she was trying to do her best part and survive herself. But yeah, coming out of there was I was at a stage where I was always angry, always looking for fights, kind of the happy-go-lucky kid at times. But there was always this kind of darkness. There was always this cloud over my head. Didn't matter how kind of good things would go. I'd always self-sabotage, bring them back. Yeah, it was a real confusing time, because I didn't want to tell anyone that I came out of Centrepoint. It took me kind of years for me even to open up about it. So I was just this kid that came from Albany, and that's where I kind of had it with a lot of my friends around me. So I was this kid that came from Albany, and then it was kind of really confusing, because I was trying to fit in with all the, I kind of fit in with all the Māori kids, all the kids that looked like me, all the kids I kind of identified with at the time. My father started picking me up and trying to get involved in my life then, because he kind of knew what was going on at Centrepoint and was out of jail at the time. So he was trying to get back in my life, and he was a Black Power member at the time. So it's just a really confusing kind of adjusting time, and the age where I was kind of 9, trying to find my own identity. What did that identity look like? But I didn't even know about Māoris and that. So I was coming out to really be in this world of Māoris when I was kind of like confused myself about what that actually looked like. My father was contacting me, so she'd send me down the Christchurch all the time between the ages of 9 to kind of 13, 14, and my father was contacting me then. I'd go back up home to Kaio, and I'd get kicked down here to the gang pad all the time, brother. And that's why I started kind of looking at gang members, and because it wasn't in my house. Well, I was getting sent down to my dad, so I'd stay at my dad, and I thought, it's kind of cool. I'm with my dad. I've always wanted to be around my dad. Look at all his mates are so cool, and kind of idolized that. Because I actually thought it was cool. It'd be like this holiday I'd go to. They'd pick me up on these, picked up in big old Kingswoods and big cars. They'd see the patches, and they'd take me to the pad, hang out there, be able to drive cars and that, brother. Be able to drive cars at that age, so it was kind of like smoke weed, and it was kind of like I'd already had an addiction. So being able to basically care free again and then run free again with the kids in the neighbourhood really turned me onto the gang life, and that's really kind of the backbones of me wanting to be a gangster. Me wanting to be go down that route really kind of appealed to me. Yeah. So we come down here. So I keep getting sent down here to live with my dad. So already I was a Black Power kid. My dad was a gangster down here, so everyone knew me as Mike's son. Oh, you're Mike's son, you're Mike's son. And there was that period kind of getting in your teenage years. No, Mike's son now, so you kind of find your identity. I went to Aranui High School, I hadn't been to school, so the first sporting academy was at Aranui High School. So you do half a day schoolwork, half a day of sports. I joined that, and it was changed the trajectory of my life for my teenage years. There was a lot of different other gang member kids coming into the school, a lot of different kind of kids that were disengaged from normal school. This was kind of an alternative schooling system that was kind of first pioneered, really. We went to Japan, brother, played rugby over there. We won the National Secondary School League competition. I'd also won a lot of Canterbury League competitions down here. Still pretending, still repping the gang stuff as a teenager, but then still had a sports as an outlet. But one thing for me is it was a cool outlet for me, brother. And this is where I say I fell short at a lot of things. Because we did win the secondary school competition, I moved over to, I tried to get away, really. I moved over from Christchurch went from here to Brisbane. I moved there when I was pretty much straight at 19 years old. I moved over there. I moved over there, and then I got a contract with under 21 Broncos, brother. Yeah, but then fell back into addiction because I was always addicted. Brother, I think I'll talk to you about it. That once kind of I've been given LSD at the ages of kind of 7 onwards, 7 for 2 years straight. 6, 7, 9. I come out of Centrepoint with an addiction, not understanding what addiction was, but always fell back into addiction, brother. I like it not like this, brother. Back in the days when meth first got to New Zealand, kind of thing. I was 16 years old at school, smoking meth. Um, Smoking meth. I had a prostitute that I was working on Manchester Street that I showed you last night, brother. I actually working girl then when I was still at school. I used to have her at night time, just get everyone's money, then go to school and kind of spend even all the money at school. I was kind of that kid that had cars at school. I kind of was smoking meth at school, still playing sports. Yeah, brother, I'd turn up and still have all the talent in the world. Um, but didn't really apply myself to training. My coach just drilled me hard. But there was a lot of that stuff going on coming out of the academy. And to be honest with you, I kind of always wanted to be a gangster. I hate to say it out loud, but the NRL thing was kind of like a side hustle to what I really wanted to be. My baby mother actually got pregnant to my second son, so I had my first kid when I was at school. Fully delved back into it. So before I left and went over to Australia, that was kind of the break for me getting out of the gang life already. I think we'd already been cripping since then. We'd already been cripping since then, and a lot of us kids that were hanging out in town, a lot of our parents used to hang around together. We were just cripping then. And then kind of come back from Australia, deep and kind of depressed because I didn't, depressed because I had such an opportunity there. Had to come back because of, the drug addiction, which was quite shameful, brother, that, didn't crack. A lot of people thought that I was actually going to crack it, brother. Had all the opportunity in the world, but just another relationship, another kind of time in my life where I fell short, brother. As much as I like to blame on a lot of things due to trauma, didn't really know how to deal with these situations, didn't have the tools in life to really actually deal with things like this. Never ever saw what a real relationship looked like. Didn't even know what a good father and son relationship looked like. So it's kind of falling short there. Just the tools that I had weren't really equipped to move through that as much as I'd love to. But I just didn't really have the tools. So I come back. And just back in the same environment, same surroundings, same people, and now I understand trauma bonding. Trauma bonding, brother, always kind of gravitate to people that had trauma around them. So we're at Christchurch. We always hang around the east side of Christchurch out here, which is the lower death side, of course. When I was coming up, there were different gangs. So there was like the skinheads were down here. They were prevalent at the time. There were the Mongrel Mob, the Black Power, the Highways, Henchmen. the road nights, and then there were just the town crew there. There was a few different bars inside town that they had the townies. And if you understand those times when street gangs were coming in, um, a lot of it was to do with American music, Americanized gangs over there with the Bloods and the Crips. We kind of used to watch that stuff. There was old people coming in, bringing that into the city. People from out of town bringing it into the city. So the cousin Rory and Sharika, they started the NHCs in jail, which it was a jail gang because a lot of the boys were in jail at the time. And they were Crips at the time. They just pretty much got all the Crips together and started the Neighbourhood Crips inside of jail. And if you understand, kind of 18 to 21 at the time, 18 to 21, 23 at the time, very young being in jail. And you're around grown men, so basically all the young fellas there kind of clicked up and formed the Neighbourhood Crips. And the way that they kind of got a name for themselves was through violence, brother. When you're competing with gangs like the Mongrel Mob and the Black Power, who are already very established, there's only one way to really get a name for yourselves, and that's through continuous violence. Where the next years of my life kind of was destruction, because we were trying to make a name for ourselves inside the gang scene. It was violence, brother. So there's a lot of shootings out here going on, and then shootings on here go on, which would be wars inside jail go on. This is back when, you saw people when they foul masks. I know a lot of the cousins started getting whole foul masks done, and it was like kind of the first kind of street gangs that started getting the whole face tattooed was kind of our gang. Well, it was a lot of jail, brother. It was a lot of jail for me, a lot of jail for the boys, but it was normalized. It wasn't ever thinking that's where the name Zoo, that's why I say I was kind of born Zahn Simeon. But then Zoo was created out of a means of survival, brother. I had to find a way to carry the anger, and that was my gang name. It's still the name a lot of people call me at the moment, but their name for me, whatever animal you feed is whatever animal you're gonna get. I've always had a big heart, but at times I could always turn that heart off because I could always turn that heart off and execute people because of what happened to me in my childhood. I had zero remorse for people, brother. Especially when it comes to violence. So it was like, because of what I've been through, I just had an outlet to take all my frustration, all my anger out on the people, which was violence. Even on my faith journey, brother, I look back at it saying, what was going on for me at the time. I do pray for, I do pray for any kind of any of my sins, the transgressions and that I've committed in the past. But to be honest with you, brother, I didn't actually know any better. Yeah, brother. I actually didn't actually know any, but it was a normality. I didn't actually feel any remorse for anybody that was stepping over, stepping on. I think I was even capable at the time to feel that, brother. I think that's one thing. At the time, that's why it was my superpower was switching off any type of remorse, any type of feelings towards anybody. If we were going in, I was going in, and there was zero feelings.
All right, bro. So from there, bro. So your last work you did. Your What was the last one you did? You saw the documentary.
Yeah, saw the documentary. I was in there for a 5 month lag, brother.
Oh no way!
5 months. I think I got 5 months. I got 9 months. I did 5 months of it, and it was the hardest lag I've done. It was a hard lag, brother. This one was a hard lag, brother. I've been some other lags who have been there for years at a time. I thought, no, this is easy. To fall in this lag was traumatic. Traumatic experience, but necessary. Necessary to my growth, brother. This is the one where kind of the crossroads are really, really looking at me. As where I took a good look at myself. Yeah, so they made a documentary on Centrepoint, and it was on TV and Z on demand. I was up watching the breakfast show, doing my toast and wheat bix in the morning, brother. The breakfast show's on, toast and wheat bix, you know what it is. About to go to the yard, trying to look cool, go to the yard, and then the breakfast show comes on. They're going on that bit Potter again. I was thinking, oh shit. And then Centrepoint comes on with my cellmate, GZ, you know what it is. With my cellmate, and I was like, that's my grandfather, cousin. And this is like one of the first times I've spoken about in years. Fish Timon Gang, Fish Timon Gang, G. I was like, that's my grandfather, and the cousin's like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's my grandfather. And right then he's like, nah. Give me. I said, no, straight up. I know those two ladies right there. I know both of them because the ladies were around my age. I remember them being from being from the documentary. They're different names of the documentary, but I know exactly who they are. Yeah, a lot of people knew who I was because I wasn't just a kid there. I was a big part of his grandkids, so we were almost kind of like royalty inside the commune. You know, we were part of the family. It was like, you know, the family and the kids that he had. They were the first cousins. We were like the first cousins of all of his kids. So we were part of the family. So a lot of people knew me. So yeah, and then I watched the documentary. I watched the TV breakfast thing, and then they showed aired on about how they did the documentary, and then it was going to be on TVNZ on demand at the time. Yeah, it was going to be on TV at the time. So I kind of watched it and thought, oh, you know, it's coming up. And this was about a week. I think it was about a week or 2 weeks out from the documentary being on. The whole time, and then they started advertising. The whole time I kept seeing it, thinking, oh, no, don't watch it, you know, you shouldn't watch it. And they come on at night time, I think around prime time, 8:30, Channel 1 or something like that. It was on prime time TV, brother. When you're locked in the cell, there's nothing on, you only got a few channels, brother. Can't happen to watch. I said to Jay, I'm going to watch this thing. I'm going to watch this documentary. And at the same time, my father was trying to get a hold of me in jail, and he had cancer at the time. Brother, I just had my muko was about to be born. I think I just had my muko. It was just about to be born. Oh, actually, I had him. You had him December the 15th. Yeah, December the 5th. So I just had my muko. My grandfather had cancer, and he was really ill. Yeah, my dad had cancer. He was really ill at the time. Um, And I watched a documentary. I watched a documentary with the country, and then watched the documentary. Just brought back all the all the stuff that's suppressed. It suppressed a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, and pretty much within sitting an hour later, all that trauma has come back. Boom! All those feelings, all those emotions, all the flashbacks. I was getting them just coming in tenfold because it wasn't my addiction then. Couldn't go get in my addiction. Had to deal with it. I think that a lot of people were in the addiction, you know, emotional medicating. There was zero emotional medicating. I couldn't blank any feelings out. I couldn't blank any emotions out, brother. And they come in hard and fast. I remember flashbacks. I remember different smells that I could smell, different places that I was waking up, astro traveling in spaces, using some of the therapeutic systems through my life. You know, being in that Wairua realm, you know, all these different things started just coming back, you know, and then all the therapeutic things came back as well, all these different lessons that I learned, and they just overwhelmed. I got overwhelmed at the time, and then first chance I got, you know, cut teeth the screw, flasted screw over. That's my mate. My mate's the screws. Got kind of built a really good relationship over the years, brother, and I went straight for him. And this was only, and I only had like a couple of months left after that, and then just started assaulting people in the yards where I wasn't getting what I wanted to. Because at the time, I'm in jail. They say all the voices inside your head, they're all real. As much as you try and shut your mind off, yeah, as much as you try and shut your mind off, you can hear other people in cells talking, you can hear TVs going, you can hear the drip going on and the shower's dripping in the thing, and to me that shower, that tick tick tick, yeah, people talking, everyone was laughing about me, everyone was laughing about the situations, so the trauma just started popping off. I didn't really have an understanding of then. So the violence just ramped. The violence ramped, brother. And it will start up with a murder or two soon now because the brother was just feeding it. And the brother, you know, got moved from Gigi's cell into another brother's cell because I was getting my tattoos done. So I went to go get some tattoo therapy, you know, just to make sure that because at the time I was numb. I was starting to get my arms done because I was numb and just wanted some pain. So we really got the tattoo therapy, and the brother was murderous or sitting. He was feeding it, brother. You know, they just go to the yard, just kill everybody. I got the knives. And the brother, we had the screwdriver in there that we could pretty much take any metal thing apart. So we had these bloody bits of metal this long that we were gonna. Oh yeah, so yeah, trying to get out. We took the roof off. So they had the roof, they had this wooden roof in the cell that we're in. I was about a month out of getting out of jail, brother. I get in the room, and the whole units. Everyone would tell you, the whole units go, "What the f***'s going on over there?" Because they're making all this noise, and I was like, "Cat, cat, 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 cat." Gets through this wooden panel, brother, and he hangs off it. He's hanging off it, poof, 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 and breaks it. We pull the pig bats out. The pig bats comes out. This polystyrene comes out. concrete roof, brother. But that's how desperate it kind of got. I just wanted to escape, and then so I went down to the compound there for the last 2 months and really did some soul searching, brother. Yeah, I really did some soul searching down there, and pretty much kind of stayed down there and thought kind of, if I want to go through all this, if I'm kind of going to go through all this, do this, I might as well make a change now. And that's where I kind of really thought, what am I going to do? On my journey down there, I really kind of got a few people together, kind of made sure that my phone calls, I was making use of those times, I was getting 5-minute phone calls, so I kind of reached out to a few people, to my good friend Lance, who passed away. Love you, Lance. She passed away when I got out, but and the brother Chi, love you, brother Chi. Always brother. Really turned my life around. If it wasn't for this, I would still really be in the mud. But got to go down and got my release address done in Chicago. Um, and for me, it was a step away from the gang. I knew I had to do that because what came with that was violence with me all the time and addiction. Get away from my environments, really, the surroundings. I had to really get away from the boys, pull away from that, which was a big ask. Kind of talk to everyone in jail, saying, "Oh, I really need to do something different. I want to give it a go. I really want to give this a go. I want to do it for my kids. I think it's time for me to heal. I've watched a documentary. I want to heal." And then Lance gave me a shot. So yeah, so I was down there. My friend Lance had cancer at the time. So I tried to do as much for them and try and change my life around for them. And my dad passed away too, not being out of jail. Lance passed away too, not being out of jail, not long being out of jail. These are some of the people that took love dearly in my heart. My grandkids were just there, so it was really time for me to really be grateful for, time for me to show my family, show my grandfather, the changes that I wanted to make. One beautiful thing about that time when I did get out is I got to come up here and me and all my kids flew in. Oh, and that was one thing that actually was a change maker for me, brother, was when I got out of jail. I walked out of jail, brother. I got home and all my kids were at home, brother. And all my kids were here. It was the first time ever, brother, that I got out and all my kids actually turned up for me. I knew you'd get out and they just wouldn't want to talk to me. They'd be resentful for me. But it was the first time ever that I got out and all my kids were here at the gate waiting for me, brother. And that there was a true change. And they knew that I was going into Chicago. And the corridor going from my oldest boys, we're just like, Dad, we really want you to do it this time. We're here to back you. We're here to love you, which I kind of never had. That was the thing that brought me back. I was getting it all back. And now that's the thing that really keeps me doing what I'm doing. It's having my kids back in my life. The mundane things of being able to wake my son up in the morning, telling him, boy, get ready for school. I've done your school lunch, dropping off to school. Those are the things now that brother, I hold dear to. And they're the only mundane things in my life. I love telling them to get up, boy, let's go do dishes together, ringing my kids on the phone. And those are things now that really keep me out of my addiction, keep me on path. And really, I'm so grateful for that too. I just remember that coming out and that feeling too. Just come back to me, just come back to me. Then, brother, that feeling was overwhelming at the time, and it was a time to heal. And then even I think it was about 2 weeks before my father passed away. My father passed away. We got a house up here, and we all met again, and got to hang out with my dad, and the boys and my daughter. My grandson was down here. We got to talk to him about, his life and what he'd been through, and even his story. I kind of understood. I always known his story and kind of the trauma that he went through as a kid and why he fell short relationships too. And it was a time for me to share with my kids. The documentary, because it was documented. I got to show my oldest boys and my son kind of this is what they'd been through as a kid, and this is why I fell short in you guys' lives. As much as I've always loved you, as much as I've always known that I've loved you, this is why I fell short. I didn't actually know any better. But now these hands of Patu, these hands of things are hands of healing now. Yeah, so I stayed down there for nearly 2 years. I've only been back up here for like 6 months, brother. So even sharing my story and telling people there's a documentary out there was the first time I kind of actually started confronting it. And a lot of my own friends really just were like, we just love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Your son's so proud of you. And they kind of grew from there to my other kids really watching my journey as well. And that's one thing now. I've kind of got a digital diary just to show my kids, my muckles, some of the changes I've made in my life. I can always look back at these videos and think, look how far we've come, and something that I stopped doing. But I'm very grateful that I had the foresight to create that challenge and to be brave enough to step out and talk about it, brother. I think that's one thing. Once we kind of get past that initial thing, like learning anything, you're gonna stumble. You're gonna kind of, like learning anything, you're gonna stumble. It's gonna be fucking scary, but once you actually fall into it and actually find a format that really works for you, because not everything works for everyone. Not the same healing process works for everyone, but once you find that, you do actually start healing your own people. You do start healing your own whānau. So it's been amazing, brother, and the reception I've got from Christchurch. People just see me on my journey. I think because I wasn't in the cargo, a whole lot of people try to get me to come back to Christchurch earlier. A whole lot of people doing 30-day one-year challenge will say, come home, you're ready to come home, you're out of your addiction, you're doing so well, we really need you in different spaces up here. I know we had the people at Hiwakatapu that were doing it. We had a whole lot of different Wānanga people that were doing it. The Kazi Move was doing it that you met the other day. They were all in the healing space at the time, and I'm like, we just need you up here in the community. And it was one thing that I was really, really nervous about it because I knew I had to talk to the boys. I knew that my whole journey had changed. Even when I was doing the 30-day 100 challenge down there, a lot of boys were watching from jail. There's a couple of jail phones going on, and the boys, and that's when I really first actually doubled down on it. Thought, if the boys watching in jail and really respecting them in jail, and they really asked me, ringing me up, talking to me about, how they never got to cook for their kids, how it's amazing them seeing me with my boy. I was actually making changes in jail. I thought, I'm going to keep doing this. So I come up here, brother, and then, me and my boy at the house. There was six boys, six of the boys, through the gang. They kind of, they come through the gang and through the kids, or nephews that I seen that just weren't doing anything, like really talented kids. And I really want to do something. I really want to do something for them, and I really want to get into work. I tried to get work, but people were kind of at that stage where I was too gangster for the straight people, but I wasn't gangster enough for the gangsters anymore, brother. So I was in that space of kind of like people wanted to give me a shot. People saying like, "We love what you're doing, but just keep doing what you're doing, and maybe soon that we can help you out." I was in that area there, space there, where it was kind of. I just got back home and people weren't sure how to take it. A lot of people that were telling me to come home were like, "Oh, it's good to see you home, but you just keep doing what you're doing." And I was just fresh out of all my charges out of the system, so it was kind of still in that period of having to prove myself. And there were these six boys there, and I just said to them, "Look, he's doing nothing." I said, "What are you actually doing for the day? He's actually doing nothing." And they were ages between kind of 14 and 17. I said, "You're actually doing nothing." I said, "You got all the talent in the world, like, you're trained and that's cool, but you actually need to start doing something, applying yourself. What do you want to do?" They said, "Oh, you want to do something, what can we do?" And I said, "Well, if I come pick you up, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, from the hours of 10 to 2, that's all I really can commit at the moment. Will you guys first run this pilot course for me? I'll write something up. I'll get a proposal going. I'll start doing some stuff. If you guys can commit to me, I'll make sure I commit to you, and we'll go do some cool activities and that." And then they agreed to it, brother, which was cool. All the parents agreed to it. We sat down. I just said, "Look, all I expect from them is just to commit to this time. It's only 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. If they can do that for the next 3 months, we'll really try and make some changes in their lives." And these kids, some of them were addiction, some of them were going through the system. And the beautiful thing was, every one of these kids turned up for every single day. I documented online, brother, just what I was doing. It got to Tuesday and I was like, "What's the time, boys? It's kind of 10 o'clock in the morning. You've been here since yesterday, brother. What time's course day? I just need a bit of me time, brother. You're going to have to go home today." And we just, then they started turning up to the gym, 7:30 in the morning. I was at the gym 7:30 every morning. With the Cuzzy Rory, shout out to the Cuzzy, really proud. When the Cuzzy did start our gang, He's really turned it around, brother. He had his first day got some mahi. He's been doing a health and wellbeing course. I started talking to him, getting in his ear about, if you can sweep through the country with bad intentions, imagine what you could do if you shift the energy with good intentions, brother. And kind of light bulb moment for him, and he went on his journey. He was already starting his journey, so he helped us out, come pick the boys up in the mornings. He'd drop us off to wherever we needed to go. And the boys have started turning up for me in ways I didn't actually realise how much of an effect that these kids actually needed, brother. And that's why I kind of really saw the gap. And then within these 3 months, these boys are really applying themselves. We set tikanga and the kawa for the program. They came up with all these cool rules. They came up with the name, Out the Mud. They came up with that name, which was really cool. And the first lot of boys really, I saw the gap where, a couple of the boys had some really good supports around them. A couple of them didn't. And what I really saw was, like I knew from my own healing journey, is that you can't keep sending people back into the same environments and expecting them to change. I kept sending a couple of boys home. They'd go back home for the weekends. They'd come back on a Monday kind of with the air knocked out of them, I suppose, and you just see a different kid, the kid that had their lights on, they were full of life, when you leave and they come back on Monday, it's kind of just going back to the same environment, so they just had their light dimmed a bit, so you kind of have to talk to what's going on at home and that, and then it was kind of like a way for me, I kind of seen the gap of getting into the families and kind of addressing some of the family issues. So 3 months went by with them. Shout out Kingston, he was the only boy that took time off the whole time, but it was to get his foot. You see the operation on his ankle, brother, which I'm really proud of the boys, though, and it really made me kind of filled my cup up. And I thought, I was talking about, emotional regulation, about their feelings, about, trauma. I was talking about some things that you never think that you get these hardened kids to sit down and talk about. I actually figured out that these kids are just kids and really turn them into kids again, brother. Really just turned them back on the kids and just had fun with them, and just seeing that really filled my cup, and then it just grew from there. I got a whole lot of the boys now. We've got a beautiful curriculum going with the beautiful chickens. The families here are really growing in the last 6 weeks. The communication between me and the families has been beautiful. We've got other social services that have come in, do budgeting with them. There's food banks available, any of the entitlements through WINS and through other jobs that they can get. We've got going through licenses. So it's really growing, brother, and I'm really proud. It's a proud thing. I keep saying, to me now, my measure of success is not only my own kids, my own family, is my true measure of success, but how this program's going, brother, it's giving me a lot of purpose. And every morning, brother, I do pray that I'm put in a position to inspire people, uplift people in the community, no matter where you've come from, because I have. I've come from Te Kore. I know where the darkness is. I had was one of my lessons being put into Te Kore and learning how to move in that space of darkness and shining light on spaces like that now, brother.
What's your opinion of that documentary and how they portrayed what was going on at Centrepoint?
A lot of the facts are real, but they missed a lot out, brother. A lot of the abuse, they didn't really touch on much of it. A lot of people actually got away with a lot of things. I hadn't shared my story much to sit down on the table with you, and you had already studied it. Goes to show that we're in the right space at the right time, and like you said, God does have a plan for us all. But the documentary there, they did tap into it. One thing I'd like to ask that the people that put that documentary together, if you do watch this, is where did you get the access to the footage? I understand that there'll be footage there every single day, and at Centrepoint at the therapy practices, because I know they used to record those therapy practices every day, brother. So there'll be a lot of information there. A lot of me running around in the backgrounds of those rooms, so you've got access to every day of my life in those times. So I'd love to look at some of those videos and really get into them. Really even tell the story here with you, brother. It's been beautiful, brother. But I do understand that there are some high profile people out there, doctors, lawyers, therapists, that really slip through the gaps. You know who you are at home. You know who I am. You know my family, you know the whānau, even my own family. We've got a lot to be responsible for that we haven't really put our hand up for. And to my own family, yes, I know this will be triggering for you to watch if you do watch this, but this is only to educate people, and only to share my own story, to heal me and my family, me and mine, because that needs to happen. So hopefully the story and the brother's journeys that he shares out there gets to people in the community, because that's where the true change can happen, to change the countries within the communities. That this here goes out to the right people, brother. Healing your trauma and healing your whānau is a new cool thing. It's a new thing. It's a new gangster. And that's what real gangsters do, brother. We look after our own. We take care of our own whānaus, and that's what we stand on, brother. So much love. And another thing before I do go is that thank you for giving me a voice, brother. My voice has been taken for many years, brother. I've been waiting to share the story. The story is to educate people. It's not to glorify any of the gang stuff, but it's to educate people. And really, I'll share the story so people do, their whole water journey. People do reach into the darkness. No matter however think you've been there, there have been many people that have been to the same spaces, but it's about shedding light on these spaces and lighting these places up. Um, and it is, even if you want to get on your faith journey, no matter whatever your journey is, look into things. There's things out there, there's beautiful examples of the community that we need to look at. We don't need to look so far overseas or any of these places. Some beautiful changes going on here in our countries and the communities at the moment. Whānau, so yeah, Maori order, brother.